Rabbi Sai, welcome back to Yerushalmi Terumot Daf. We are holding at Pei Tes on the base. Now I just want to say, I will have a break for a few days. The next shir will be on Wednesday, the 6th of March, right? Which is roughly just, today is Tuesday, so just over a week away. Yeah, the next shir will be Wednesday, the 6th of March. So we'll carry on wherever we're up to. In terms of the actual cycle, we're around 30 days ahead on the current cycle, so there we are. Okay, right, Ad Heicham. Now, we're talking about Tevel, where the growths are permitted if the seeds disintegrate, but not with the way it doesn't disintegrate. Ad Heicham. Now, how far do we go, growths of growths, when the seeds do not disintegrate? Are they forbidden gidulim of gidulim, growths and growths of growths, and so on? How far does it go? Three times you got a harvest, 3 times sowed, whatever, then it's forbidden. But the 4th time round, the growth of the gidulin, they are permitted. Now this did the growth and the growth are forbidden if it doesn't disintegrate. That also applies with growth of truma. So Rav Shmuel bar Avudma, he said, but truma would come out. How far does it go with growth of truma? You know, is it like the growth of Tevel? The first 3 times sowing is forbidden. He answered back, also go to Revius, they treat the 4th growths with where it doesn't disintegrate. Can go in a Rishona like the first one where it does disintegrate. So the growths and growths of Isul where it doesn't disintegrate on the 4th time, right, is equal to the first growths of Isul where it does disintegrate. So Ma go in a Rishona Shadav Shazara Kala. The first growth where it disintegrates. With Truma is also, and with Tevel it's permitted. With Truma it's also because growth of Truma, where Zarakala are also, growth of Tevel are permitted. Avgon Aravias, so the 4th time, Bedava She'ain Zarakala, where it doesn't disintegrate. With Truma also, Truma is forbidden, or with Tevel is mutter, Tevel is permitted. So Truma, even the 4th time, is forbidden. Now we said, what is something that doesn't, in Zarakala? We gave examples of garlic and onions. Ma'izlach, what do you have apart from this? You know, he said kagoin, as if there's more. What else is there? Amres ribud kagoin hakluvsin, which is a type of growth, growing thing, which doesn't disintegrate. But we don't really know what it is. There's some sort of pulses. Some saying kulbasin or kulkasin. Kulkus mentioned in a few places. It looks like the luf. Okay, let's carry on. Garlic is like barley. If it's less than the size of a barley, then it's considered davar shazarikala, that it disappears. And if it's bigger than that, davar she'ain zarikala, as if it's still here. Hashum, the garlic is considered kisayrim like barley in every aspect. It's always got a din of davar shazarikala, just like the barley is davar shazarikala. There's no difference. It doesn't make a difference how big it is. Halach and Gimel. Now, again, growth of Tevel. So it's a worker who's pruning a field of chasios, which are types of onions, where, again, the seeds remain. And the field is of a nachri. Of Tevel, even though the fruits of the nachri which he sowed is all Tevel, so the growths of Tevel, and therefore you can't even eat it on the chilas arai, nevertheless, you can eat it as temporary eating without taking meiser if the gemar malach has not yet been. For example, if it hasn't been stacked up with this barach hakri, you're allowed to eat achilas arai. We'll see the reason soon. Shisle truma, that is like cabbage and things, plantings of truma, shenit ma'u, which became tameh, and then ushsalan, you've planted them elsewhere. Taharu melatame. When you plant them elsewhere, they remove their tumah status by sowing them in the ground. Right, it's not got a din of oichel anymore, and therefore it can't receive tumah, and it's not matame oichel at all, not anything that touches it. But asurin beloichel. However, the is of eating truma tameh has not disappeared. You still can't eat it. Ad shiyago mesa oichel, until you cut the various pieces which are fitting to eat, and you throw the edible bits away, and whatever grows afterwards you can eat. Rabbi Yehuda, he said these plants are forbidden. Ad shiyago v'yishna. You got to cut them twice. So you're also going to cut what grows after the first cut. And what grows after that, that's what you can eat. Now the first part of the Mishnah, you're pruning with a goy, with these Tevel things, you're allowed to eat achilas harai. Rav Chia bar Rav Shimon, Rav Bo bar Rav Yochanan, to Rav Shimoni. This is view of Rav Shimon, who holds that a guy has a kayach to have a kinyan in Eretz Yisrael to remove the meiser obligation. So the fruit of a nachri is part of Trumas and Meiser, so you can eat it, therefore temporary eating. According to the Tanaim who argue and hold an kinyan nachri, then you're not allowed to eat from these fruits, whatever, even a temporary eating. In Rav Shimon, if you want to hold Rav Shimon, lamali arai, then why is it you can only eat a temporary eating? I feel keva. You're allowed to eat it properly, right? You should eat it for even a fixed meal. Because there's no chiyuv Trumas Meiser at all. And he says, begin. Even though it's part of Ramaisus Minat Torah, but midrabanan. This malacha means midrabanan. Midrabanan, Yachayev. From Gain so Venamema. I want to say a mission is Rav Shimoni. That's why eating keva of tevel is also midrabanan. But there's no gezer on arai with these things because the whole chiyuv of Trumas and Meisus Peres Nachri is only midrabanan. If you are doing work with this kuti, mutter b'demai. If the peres demai, where you don't know if truma has been taken, you're allowed to eat from the gross temporary eating. Havadai, if it was definitely tevel, lo, then you shouldn't eat from it, even a temporary eating. Because a kuti, this is kuti now, right? Kuti's got a din of Yisrael. You can't eat gedulei tevel of Yisrael, even achilas harai. Lama. Now, what's the reason of the brayso? The demai you can eat from the gross. Shademai batel b'mechuvel karka. By sowing it, it removes the issa demai from it. Ve'en gedula vaso, and the gross are not forbidden. There's no gzeir on demai, the gross should be forbidden. However, they did put gzeir on tabel, where it doesn't disintegrate, because the issa demai is only rabbinical. You plant in the ground, they remove their tumah status, but you can't eat it. It's truma which you replanted. These plants which become tabe, chulim which become tabe, you can plant them again and make them truma after you gather them. You're allowed to make them truma, and it's tahar, it's mutter l'kainim. By replanting it, the tumah disappears. If it was truma to start with, even though you planted it, and we should say the tumah should go away, they are rejected from eating. They're already also to Cohen because it's truma tamea, and by you replanting it, you have not removed the isra achila, as we said. So you still can't eat it, right? It still becomes truma tamea. If water has become tamei, mashikan, you can connect it to a mikveh as long as the water's touching the mikveh, and that will tar it, make it tar. But isa mechag. And you can use it even for Nisach Hamayim and Sukkot, because now it's Tahar. If it was already holy as waters dedicated for the Nisach Hamayim, and now it got Tameh, and then you went and connected it with a mikveh, I'm afraid since it was rejected once, it remains rejected. Grapes and figs that were Tameh, you can squeeze them, but and Truma, the liquid can come out, can be Truma. Because the liquid that comes out of the grapes, which were tameh, is tahor. He says you can make truma and it is tahor. The reason for this is brought in the Bavli. According to Yochanan, the liquids are not part of the tameh fruit. They're not absorbed in the fruit. They're sort of deposited in the fruit, like liquids in a vessel. So when the fruit is tameh, the liquids inside are not tameh. Rav Chisda argues on that. Okay.
But when you cut the fruit,
yes,
it will cross-contaminate.
Possibly. When you cut the fruit, the liquid's touching the fruit. I don't know how. It's like not absorbed. I don't know how. He says the mashke is not tamei. 1 minute. He says the mashke is not tamei by touching the fruit, because each time it's inside the fruit, it's not got a mashke to receive tumah, and you don't have the flesh in one of the fruits, a shiva kabetza, to be matame the liquid inside. Food cannot be defining anything else unless it's an egg size. And the fruit don't join up for the shiur. So he's saying the fruit don't join up. Okay. Let's carry on. Certain mice and truma. But if the fruit was truma from the start, became also to eat, then it's rejected, it stays rejected. Now, how can you squeeze these fruits which are tamei in a way that the liquid stays tahor. Yes, exactly. So and it won't defile by touching the fruit. You squeeze each time less than a kazayas of grapes. Less than a kazayas cannot be mitzvah anything else, right? The wine can be used even for nesachim. Now Mishlokish argues on the first thing about things which are tamei, which were planted. Mishlokish palig. He argues on what Rabbi Yochanan said. Now we didn't say what is he arguing. So what way does he argue? Ma lekula or lechumra? Is he arguing lekula? He argues on the sefer that these things which were truma from the beginning came tamei and you planted them, they're rejected. And according to Mishlokish, no, once you plant it, it removes the tuva, and maybe they're not rejected anymore. Or maybe he argues lechumra on the ratio of Yochanan. If they were planted and they were tamei and you planted them, you can make them truma and make it like truma tahira. And according to Mishlokish, even that it's still got truma tameah. He says in tema lechumra nicha. If you're going to tell me Mishlokish is arguing on the ratio of Yochanan and lechumra, I understand. But in tema lekula, you're going to tell me he's arguing on the sefer to be lenient that even if the things that were tamei and you planted them after they were made truma and you replant it, they become tar. He says, Artanina, we learned in our Mishnah clearly, the truma which was tamei, and you replanted it, tara tamei, it removes the tumah status, but you can't eat it until you start cutting away some of the food, so you can't eat it. So how can it be the Mishlokish argues on that? Then we said in the Mishnah, that you can't eat it till you cut away various bits. This is the shop of the Mishnah. It says, basically, don't think that you can just cut the leaves and then go and cut the main fruit in the place where you cut. No. He says you have to cut the leaves, wait till new leaves grow, and also the new leaves, then you go and cut them. And when they come back, that's when you go and cut them. Okay? Right. Perek Asiri. That's right? Rabbi saying? Right. All he's doing in the Torah, if an Issa gives taste in Heta, it was cooked with it, gave it taste, then the food becomes forbidden. Because the taste of it is like the Ikka, Tam Ke Ikka, the taste of it is like the main thing. The Mishnah discusses this Gedorim about Truma is concerned. Now we start with an onion of chulin, which was in a pot of lentils of Truma. So Barzel, an onion of chulin, you put it in a pot of lentils of Truma, which have become ripened. Sorry, they were cooked together. So if this onion is whole, mutter, Yisrael is allowed to eat the onion. Because the whole onion does not absorb taste from the lentils. Right? Basically, we'll give it to a Cohen to taste, and if he tastes a bit of taste of lentils, then the onion is forbidden to Israelim. But if it's whole, he says no. He says there's no taste of the lentils going into that onion. Some say we talk about cold lentils. And if the onion is cut, then it will absorb taste from the lentils. Because an onion is a very sharp food. It will absorb even cold. Okay? Some say, no, the lentils are hot. And even so, the onion will not absorb from them when it's whole. It's got a big case around it, a strong cover about it. We'll see. So if the onion is whole, that's fine. But if you cut it before you put it into the lentils, then it's forbidden to Israel. If no sintam, if that food gives a taste. The rest of the food of truma, let's say apart from lentils, any other food that you put an onion in, whether the onion is whole or not, then it's forbidden, but no sintam. Then everything depends on taste, right? Usually no sintam, is, well, with truma you need 100, but some mixtures usually is 60, of course. But with truma, you need more than that. We depend on the taste in the onion. So the din of a tafshel of adoshim, we say that it stops the taste going into the onion.
So is this after minute of shachar gam?
We'll come to that. We're going to come to no stand of gam. We're going to come to all that. So this is a chidush of the Mishnah, that the onion seals itself and stops getting taste from lentils. That's what we've got here. Rabbi Yehuda allows a case of an onion of truma, but tzachna, which is like a pickled fish in a brine of some kind. She'enai, because the onion is only elolito es hazuhama, to take the bad smell of this thing. It doesn't really give a taste. So the tzachna is not forbidden for Israelim. Tapuach, an apple of truma, shriska, you sort of mash it up. But nasa la terisa, you put it in a chulin dough. v'chimsa, and it caused the dough to ferment. Harezu asura, this dough is forbidden for eating for zorim, because the fermentation of the apple is noticeable in the dough, is considered, is choshev, and it's not batel even in 1,000. So orim, barley of truma, shenaflu l'tocha b'shamayim, that fall into a pit of water, afa b'shevisha meimav, even though it's got a bit bad because of the barley that fell in, so there's a bad taste, you can notice the barley taste in the water, then mutarin, the waters are still permitted, because the taste of the barley ruins the taste of the water. And it's, so this town doesn't forbid. Okay. Basel shenasan l'tocha dashim, an onion that goes inside lentils, if it's whole, it's permitted. We're talking about a case where you put the onion into the lentils, after you've already drained these lentils of their liquids. Right, they're already cooked. You've took away their draining their liquids from them. Right? So in this case, so the lentils harden the outer shell of the onion. Shelo yivla, so it will not absorb anything from the lentils. But if you put the onion in the lentils before they were cooked, and after you cook them all together, then it definitely will absorb from the lentils. Or kamada atava, just like you say, after you remove the moisture from the lentils, adoshim softos, so they harden the shell of the onion. Shelo yivla, it won't absorb any taste. Similarly, adoshim softos, the lentils will harden. Shelo yited, it will not give out any of its taste into the lentils. So if you put an onion of truma into the lentil pot, which you've already drained them, the lentils will not be forbidden to Israel because the onion will not give taste to the lentils. Now other Amorim hold, Masnisa, the din of our Mishnah, that an onion that you put in the lentils permitted is also babasal shel chulin, shenasan l'tocha dashim shel truma. So others say, yeah, even an onion of chulin in lentils of truma. Only that way around. If the onion is truma, some say lo badon, then we're not going to allow you to allow the lentils. Although the lentils will harden the onion, not to get their taste, but not so much they won't give out taste back to the lentils. So some say if the onion is truma, it will give taste out to the lentils. Now we said in our Mishnah, chulin and a taruas remain permitted. Now that's beyavish, if the onion is dry. But balach, if the onion is wet, then the chulin is asur. It's forbidden to Israelim. A wet onion, I'm afraid the outer shell doesn't harden so much, and therefore it will absorb and it will give out taste. Now this kula also is only babasa with an onion. But kafloitas with leek, bein lach, bein yavesh, whether it's wet or dry, bein shalem, whether it's whole, bein mechutach or kata, also it's forbidden to zarim. And even with an onion, heavy pitumtai, if you removed like the top head of it, the top parts of it, before you put it in the lentils, kimachutachu is considered like kata, and therefore it will absorb and give out taste through that area. And also, this din was only said with one onion. But if you have 2 or 3 small onions that grew together and they're connected, and you put them together in the lentils, they are also considered like cut onions, right? Because they absorb and they give out taste where they are connected, because it's not very secure. Adada Tema, and that which you said, that the onion of truma, which you'll put in the lentils of chulin, doesn't forbid them, you don't have in the outer shell enough to give a taste to the mixture. And if it's big enough that it can give taste, then also then it is forbidden. Rabbi Yehuda Matir, Rabbi Yehuda allowed you to have an onion of truma in the sachma, which is this pickled fish stew, right? Because the onion is only just to remove the smell or whatever, it doesn't really give taste. Taman Tanina, we have learned in Masechet, dagim, fish of chulin, shenisbashli imakavlotis, that were cooked with leek of Masechet. So fish of chulin cooked with Masechet, and through that hishbichu, the fish improved. Then if you want to redeem the kedusha of the Masechet in the food, to eat it outside Yerushalmi, you have to look at the improvement that went into the leek of Masechet, right? If the tafshel lefi cheshbon, based on the amount of the Masechet in that mixture. Do you understand? So your leeks improved because of Masechet. You got it when you're redeeming them, whatever, you got to account for that Masechet value that's gone into those leeks. Oh, Rav Oshia, Masnisit like Rav Yehuda. It's not like Rav Yehuda. The Yehuda Trinan, we've learned Rav Yehuda Matir. Rav Yehuda allowed an onion of truma, but sachna. And when it's an onion of truma in this fish dish, I like that, the fish dish. And the same thing with the leek as well, because it's only there to remove the smell. It doesn't really improve it. But the Mishnah Masechet treats the leek as something that improves the fish. Now that's obviously not like Yehuda. So that's the question: does it improve the fish or does it not improve the fish? Rabbanah the Kisrin boy, and they said, all forbidden foods that are mixed in a machal matter, so you want to work it out. Does it give taste or not? Kilu means keilu, as if, batzel. Imagine it's like an onion. Keilu kaflo is like a leek. That's how much taste it can have. Imagine it's an onion. Imagine it's a leek. Right? And that amount of forbidden also, the taste wouldn't be noticed, then the food doesn't give taste, it's not noticeable. And this dinner Rav Yochanan is the like Rav Yehuda. It's not like Rav Yehuda, because Rav Yehuda is mashma, that even an issa with fish, we imagine, was it an onion, was it a leek, would it give taste? Not. It's not like Rav Yehuda. According to Rav Yehuda, they don't give taste at all. They're just there to remove the bad smell. They don't really give taste at all. Moed Rav Yehuda agrees with Batzal Shal Hekdesh, an onion of Hekdesh that you put in the fish stew. Moed Rav Yehuda Batzal Shal Avodah Zara, you put an Avodah Zara onion in there, that they are forbidden. Hekdesh and Avodah Zara are forbidden even bahana, not just eating. So although it doesn't really give taste in the fish, you are benefiting from the onion, because the onion removed the bad smell, as opposed to the truma and other forbidden foods, because the onion doesn't give a taste in the fish, it's not also to eat as a result. Tapuach shaviska, the apple that you mashed it down, and you put it in the dough for chimsa, it fermented the dough, harezu asura, is forbidden. Now, Tani, Rabbi Yossi mate, Rabbi Yossi allows it. He allows the dough for a zar. He holds the fermenting caused through the apple is not proper fermenting, it's chometz nuksha. It doesn't really forbid the dough. Rabbi Achar, Rabbi Vav Shem Yossi ben Chanina, when you make the fermenting, but meimav with the juice of the apple, which is being smashed together, and if you use the actual material of the apple, which is not nisrasek, right, which has not been broken down, mutter, that is permitted. That really can't cause this sort of fermenting. It's a truma, right? It's a truma apple. That's the problem. Yeah, you're using a truma apple to ferment a dough. So if you didn't mash it down too much, then I'm afraid the goof of the apple doesn't cause the fermenting. Kamad Rabbi Yossi Amar Tama. Now, just like Rabbi Yossi says in Shabbos. Now, I was just talking about cooking on Shabbos through an urn that you removed from the fire. And he said, "Ein tafshila tafshil baro." The cooking caused by an urn which is not on the fire is not proper cooking. You're allowed to cook with it because it's not issa mevashel b'Shabbos unless it's proper bishul when it's on the fire. Keinu amahacha. Will he say the same here? Or so he says here. Ein chimutz chimutz baro. The fermenting caused through the apple juice is not proper chimutz. It's like chometz nuksha. It doesn't forbid a dough. Right, so svara with the chimutz of the dough, with the apple juice, is like what he says with bishul, with toldas ha'or. So just like bishul, he holds bishul enogomo is not considered bishul, it's permitted on Shabbos. So he holds the fermenting, which is chimutz enogomo, has not got dinner fermenting, and it doesn't really forbid the dough. So by the way, the Bavli learns that the dinner of Rabbi Yossi is slightly different, and according to them, Rabbi Yossi agrees bishul b'toldas ha'esh, like a vessel removed from fire, it's also. And that Rabbi Yossi only argues with bishul b'toldas ha'chama. You're using generated heat from the sun. Yeah, not direct heat, but indirect heat. Yeah, you put the egg in the towel, and the towel got heated from the sun. That's indirect toldas ha'chama. That's where he argues, like through sudra and things heated from the sun. Tanakama forbid you to cook toldas ha'chama, because you might start cooking with the fire. And Rabbi Yossi doesn't put gezerah, he allows you to cook the toldas ha'chama. Okay, so Orim shenaflu. Barley that fell into a well of water, even though the water's gone a bit bad, it's permitted because they give it bad taste. So even though Shivishu Meimah, Shivishu sounds like it's gone bad. Anyway, they learn to the Brisa, Kol Nos Neitam, anything that gives taste, and it's gone into a mixture of heter and it gives a taste. Bein l'shevach, bein l'fgam, also. Dear Rameir. Rameir says, I don't care. It gives good taste, bad taste is also. Reb Shimon he said, l'shvach, for a good taste, also is forbidden, but l'fgam, for a bad taste, mutter that is permitted. Where they're arguing, it improved the heter, the Issa first, the Issa improved the heter, and then blemished it. Right? So the wine of Truma fell into, let's say, these cold beans, it improved them, then you heated them up, and the taste ruined them. So Rameir holds, since it improved it to start with, then it remains also even after you've gone and after it's gone blemished. But Rav Shimon holds, now the Issa is pogum, it's okay. Aval pogam, if the blemish came first, the bad taste came first, the achgach ishbiach, and then it improved, then after Rameir, even Rameir agrees, it remains permitted. Because when the Issa gave taste, it was already pogum, therefore it doesn't go back and forbid it, even if it improved it later on. So we're saying, if the pogum came first, then even Rameir agrees that's okay. But there was an argument if the shvach, if the improvement came first. Rav Yochanan said there's no difference. Lo shani he pogam v'asav ishbeach, if the improvement came first, he ishbeach v'asav pogam, or the pogam came first. Whichever way around, they argue, and that Rameir is strict in both cases. Okay, whichever one came first. Okay, and he says here, according to Rav Yochanan, Rameir asks even if there was a pogam first, and in the end there was no improvement. He holds Rameir completely argues on the klal of Nos and Tam Lifgam is mutter. Okay. The Bavli also brings this as far as Rameir. According to Ola, Rameir agrees that if the Issa is pogam first, it's permitted. According to Rabbi Yochanan, Rameir asks even if the Issa is pogam first. Okay. In Rav Shimon's view, Bavli is different from Agamara. According to Agamara, Rav Shimon's mati any way of pogam. According to Bavli, Rav Yochanan holds Rav Shimon only allowed it when the Issa was pogam first. So there's different views in Rav Shimon. Tamon Tanina, we've learnt in our Mishnah, the barley falls into the water, the tasters have been affected because of the barley. Meima Mutar is permitted, the barley gave a bad taste from beginning to end. Adomas Nisamai, this Mishnah that allows a food, but there's no time of gam, who's it like? Is it Rav Shimon who allows no time of gam? Or maybe even Rameir agrees, no time of gam from the beginning to the end, if it's always bad taste, then it's permitted. So the Gemara says it depends on Machlokes Rav Yochanan and Shlokish. Rav Yochanan, but Machlokes, it's an argument. The Mishnah is according to Rav Shimon, but Rameir holds the barley forbids the water which fell in, even though it's pogum all the time. Rav Shlokish Shama, he said Divra Kol. Everyone agrees. The Mishnah is according to everyone. Since the barley blemished the water from beginning to end, even Rameir agrees that water is permitted. There's another version where, based on that, the Machlokes Rav Yochanan and Shlokish is said clearly in our Mishnah. He said, two things to explain our Mishnah were said through Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish. Rabbi Yochanan says Mishnah is machlokes, Rav Shimon, right? That means the Mishnah's din is only according to Rav Shimon, not according to Rameir. And Rav Shlokish, he said Divra Kol. The din of the Mishnah is according to everyone. That even Rameir agrees with barley that fell into water, which is permitted. It's why? Because the barley blemishes from the beginning to end, and everyone holds it's okay. Haroida paschama. So you take hot bread straight out of the oven of wheat or barley, and you put it on a barrel of wine of truma. Right? Rameir forbids the bread. He says the bread absorbs from the moisture of the wine of truma. The hot bread absorbs from the barrel of wine. Rabbi Yehuda Matzeh. Rabbi Yehuda allows the bread. He holds the bread doesn't absorb from the wine. Rabbi Yossi Matzeh b'shalchitin. He allows the wheat one, but he forbids the barley. Because because the barley draws out from the wine, whereas wheat doesn't draw out. So Rabbi Yossi allows wheat but not barley. You took an oven and you put fuel in with spices of truma. That was your fuel. But after by sapasa, you baked bread. The bread is permitted. She'ein tam kamun, you're not going to get taste of this spice of truma, ela reach kamun. You'll get the smell of it. That's all. The smell of it will not forbid your bread, which has been in the oven. Now we said in our Mishnah, if you take hot bread, you put it on a barrel of wine, Rameh asks it. Rav Zira, Boin Kol Rav Yana, that's before Rav Yana, that's now Gabi Alpim Gufas Chavis. If they put it, Alpim Gufas Chavis, they put it on top of a barrel of wine, a wine of truma. So you put bread on a wine of truma, but it's got a stopper on it. Yeah, a wine of truma with a stopper. Not an open barrel. Mal, what's the din? Would Rameh forbid the bread? It's on a closed barrel. Why would you forbid the bread? It says Yagid Arei. There's another Mishnah will tell you this. What do you mean? What are you talking about? We learned in Machzirin. Now this is about fruit being susceptible to receive tumah. Chavis, you have an earthenware barrel, Malaya Peres, full of grains, whatever, seeds. And you put it inside a pit full of water. Malaya Mashkin, or it's full of water, and the fruits are moist, and the fruit becomes moksha to receive tumah. Basically, it draws out from the moisture of the liquid through the walls of the barrel. So the same thing here. The bread will draw out that moisture of the wine through a blocked up barrel. It will draw that moisture through. Now, just like we say, now in both cases, whether the barrel is full of liquids and it's in fruit, or it's full of fruit and it's in liquids, the liquids must be touching the barrel. In this situation, we find that the fruit draws it out through the walls. So here as well, a bread that's on the stopper, we say, right, we learn from here the bread draws it out through the stopper. It has to be wine reaching till the edge. No gas from a guffa, reaching all the way up to the top of the stopper. But if, however, it's not full, and there's a gap between the wine and the stopper, there's no source to say that the bread actually draws out from the wine. Okay? There are some differences in din between the Bavli and Yerushalmi here as well. I think we'll come across it soon. Yeah, we'll come across that soon. Okay. Where are we? We're from the gas of the Gufa. Yeah. Rabbanah said, just 1 second. Okay. And from this, that we learn the din of Machzirin, we can say Kamad, just like we say that the fruit has to be touching the barrel. So whether the barrel is full of liquids in fruit, or the barrel is full of fruit and it's inside liquids, the fruits are touching the barrel. The same thing in wine of truma. The bread has to touch the stopper. But if the bread is on a barrel from above, is hanging from above, there's a gap between the stopper and the bread, something else in between, then we don't say this did. The words of Yana, we compare our Mishnah to the Mishnah of Machzirin, tells me, even the bread is cold. Put on a barrel of wine, we say the bread will draw out from the wine, according to Rameir. Because that's talking about where the fruit is cold, and it still absorbs. Yeah, there's a story with that. But our Mishnah says the bread was hot. I don't say we can be more lenient when it's hot, because if the bread is steamy, maybe the steam coming out of the bread will prevent the wine going into the bread. So I'm telling you, therefore, maybe it will be permitted. So the Mishnah has to tell you, even hot bread will absorb from this wine. But we're not reducing it with the fact that cold bread. Now, Bavli argues on our Gemara. The Bavli holds cold bread does not start drawing wine when the barrel is closed. And therefore, if you've got cold bread on a closed barrel, there is no problem. And according to the Bavli, we cannot compare the case of a Mishnah to Machzirin. There it's talking about seeds, which maybe draw out more. Here we're talking about bread, and therefore maybe they draw out more when they're cold. It could be the Bavli agrees, cold bread, only a tiny bit. But as far as Hechsher, maybe even the small bit is enough. That's not enough to forbid the bread. Anyway, he says, if a barrel is inside water, it can absorb to the fruit and make it muksha to receive tumah. So what is this? If you've got a barrel inside the water will go through the barrel to the fruit and make it muksha. But mashkin enos in peres. If the barrel was put in other drinks like wine or vinegar, those liquids do not affect the fruit which is inside the barrel. Delay Krab Yuda. Now that's all very well. Now delay here doesn't mean not like. It means da ella Krab Yehuda. Hear that? This is only like Krab Yehuda, not delay Krab Yehuda. Delay da ella Krab Yehuda. This can only be like Yehuda, who holds that bread doesn't draw from wine. and therefore we can say the fruit doesn't draw any liquid apart from water. Rameya, he said clearly that wine gets through bread. Mishnah Machshirin says clearly wine and vinegar can be drawn through fruit. So Rish Lakish is only an individual opinion. And Rish Lakish Rama, he said, "My most in Peros v'chaserin." It can cause, when the liquids go onto the fruit, it makes it mursha, and the actual liquids lose their amount. But mashkin, but other drinks like wine and vinegar, ice and pears, they can also draw out, but they don't lose their volume. Rabbi Yehuda, he said, mashkin, ice and pears, he says, no. Other liquids don't start drawing away onto fruit. Now, Ma'adam Rabbi Yochanan, what did Rabbi Yochanan say? We went to Rabbi Yitzchok, our teacher, to learn Torah. We would put our rolls on a big vessel full of fish brine, and we would actually taste the fish brine, and that's the lie of Rabbi Yehuda. That is according to Rabbi Yehuda, that the bread can't draw any other liquid apart from water. So what we're saying here, we went to learn, we put our loaves on the fish, on a big vessel full of fish, and we actually tasted the fish. According to Rabbi Yehuda, only water does it, but here even fish brine can. So he says, "My limit are you?" You know what? They stuck their bread inside a vessel. The juice actually touched the bread. They ain't awesome shum geza balabais, but they're taking the fish stew of the balabais. He says, "No, they got permission to do this." Rabbi Yossi matim b'shel chitin. Rabbi Yossi allowed it on the barrel of wine to put wheat, but he forbade barley. Chitim and amasa soy mala. If you have wheat on the barrel of wine, and above it you have barley, the wheat won't draw out, the barley won't. But if the barley is below, the wheat is above, it's just like the barley will draw out, so also the wheat will also draw out from the barley, because the shiva will go through from the barley to the wheat, there's nothing between them. Now, last thing we mentioned, an oven which you've used the kamun, this spice of truma, and you used it as fuel and you baked bread, the bread's permitted, you will not get the taste of the kamun, you'll get the smell of it. Can you roast meat on two spits? You got kosher meat and nevela meat, but taner echad, two spits in one oven. They're not touching. Do you have to worry about the reach? Yeah, not zeah, but the reach, the smoke, the steam coming from one to the other. Rav Yirmiyah B'Shem Rav, he says also, no. Shmuel B'Shem Levi Mutter, it's permitted. Peliga B'Snisad Rav, we have a brisa that argues on Rav. We learned in a brisa, you cannot roast two psachim in one oven, because they'll mix out, they'll get swapped. And then your Korban Pesach is being eaten by the wrong group. Now, they only said it's forbidden, because we're worried they'll mix them up and they won't know which one's which. Were that not the reason, it wouldn't be forbidden to roast them together. Even though the smell of one, the reach of one, will go in the other one. That seems that's not a problem. And that's like Shmuel. So he says, Mi sasre, water, a food which has reach shel isur, me sasre. So it's a food which has got a reach of forbidden smell in it. Rav Amar also. Shmuel Amar Mutter. Shmuel says it's permitted. According to Rav, the reach is forbidden. According to Shmuel, it's not. Eichel Shmuel Rav me sasre. And Shmuel actually gave Rav to eat from this stuff. Hadein Tavya. Now roasting meat in an oven. Rav Yisrael is allowed to fuel his oven with things of dates which have got a name truma. Basically, they don't have a name truma only on the dates, not the chorios. So like what they call the chorios is other parts. They're not the proper part of the date. Maybe the part that's connected to the tree or something. It's not. Some say a girsa mishbached vase. The shagala b'charusa. So you can use parts of the stalks of the dates, whatever it is. It doesn't have a shem truma. Okay, to be continued, Rabbi said the next share is Wednesday, the 6th of March.